In 2010, Luis Suarez became the first player in history to be banned from an entire continent. Well, sort of. But with the hate the countries feel toward him, he might as well have been. It all started with the 2010 World Cup, hosted in Johannesburg, South Africa. With this being such a huge event, every team had their own ambitions. Uruguay were looking forward to their first semi-final in 3 decades, while Ghana were featuring in only their second ever World Cup. You see, Ghana were just starting to find their feet again. They lost only one match in the 2006 World Cup qualifiers, made it to the quarterfinals, and won the 2009 Under-20 World Cup.
Score this penalty. Is it Africa? Is it Africa? It is!
And in 2010, this golden generation would compete alongside 5 other African nations: South Africa, Nigeria, Algeria, Cameroon, and the Ivory Coast. On home soil, this was Africa's time to shine on the biggest stage. But sadly, only one of these countries would even make it past the group stage. The first whistle was blown on June 11th, and just 2 weeks later, the stage was set for a dramatic round of 16. Brilliant finishes from Saurez, Boateng, and Gian fired both La Celeste and the Black Stars into the quarterfinals, where these two sides would face off for the first time in their histories. At this point, Ghana may have been suffering flashbacks to the last World Cup, where they'd been torn apart by a legendary Brazil team.
Is this the record? It's Saurez!
But as the last remaining African team, the entire continent rallied in their support, especially because this was the first ever World Cup hosted in Africa. Ghana stepped onto the pitch full of confidence, boasting a squad of young, exciting talent. Players from Asamoah Gyan and Kevin Prince Boateng to Dominic Adie and Isaac Vorsa. They were young and hungry to lead their continent further than it had ever been. But it wasn't going to be easy. On the other side of that line was an older, more experienced team backed by a nation familiar with the sensation of victory. And leading the line alongside Diego Forlan was Luis Suarez, aka El Pistolero. The first half saw several chances just miss their target. Both sides were knocking on the door, but neither could find a finish. That is, until the dying seconds of the half, when 25-year-old Sulley Muntari scored an outrageous goal.
15 seconds remain before the break, and Muntari shoots! Oh, and Muntari scores!
The second half came and quickly saw a free kick converted by Uruguay's Diego Forlan.
It's Diego Forlan now for Uruguay, and Diego Forlan equalizes with a stunner!
Both teams were desperate for a winner but continued to miss golden opportunities. And after 90 minutes, a quick breather and instructions from their managers, they returned to the pitch in one last effort for glory. Momentum swung in Ghana's direction as they piled on the pressure and pinned the South Americans in their own half. Everyone was defending, including Luis Suarez. And just when it looked to be headed to penalties, Paintsel whipped in a free kick. It wasn't cleared, chaos in the box. Apaya then shot just 3 yards from goal. It was cleared off the line. A header came in destined for goal, but then Luis Suarez saved the ball off the line with his hands. He immediately received a red card, giving Ghana the chance to make history, not only for themselves, but for their entire continent. Asamoah Gyan stepped up, holding the hopes and dreams of many in his hands, but sent his penalty crashing into the crossbar.
What a moment for Asamoah Gyan, what pressure on those shoulders. Asamoah Gyan for Ghana, oh, and he's missed! Oh, I cannot believe it!
Heartbreak doesn't begin to describe it, and you could see it on his face what this miss meant. Luis Suarez, on the other hand, celebrated the miss as if he just scored the winning goal. This dramatic display, coupled with his illegal handball, made Suarez enemy number 1 for all of Africa. But the worst was yet to come. A depressed Ghana now have to face an encouraged Uruguay in penalties, and even without their star man, La Celeste were confident they could win the match. After 9 penalties, Uruguay walked away the winners. This loss meant so much to the people of Africa, as for the rest of the tournament, they'd have to sit by without a single home country vying for the trophy. The hopes, dreams, and ambitions aroused by the biggest competition coming to South Africa fell away. And as far as many were concerned, one man was to blame.
Because they're out now, almost I feel like I'm not even going to be interested in the World Cup. It feels like Africa's out and the hosts are out.
At least we should have been in the semi-final.
Between 2006 and 2010, Ghana had jumped 25 places in the FIFA men's rankings, demonstrating their remarkable progress as a nation. But by 2022, they'd plummeted to 61st place, a far cry from their new rivals. 12 years after their first meeting, and it was time for Ghana and Uruguay to face off again, this time in Group H of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Uruguay opened the group with a goalless draw to South Korea, while the Black Stars, despite having much improved talent this time around, lost 3-2 to Portugal. The following match week, Ghana flipped the script with a 3-2 win over South Korea. Portugal beat Uruguay 2-0, who'd benched Saurez after an unimpressive first match. The table stood at 6 points for Portugal, making them the only team safe to progress, 3 points for Ghana and 1 point for South Korea and Uruguay. It was the perfect recipe for a dramatic final day.
Suarez robbers, you should watch out for Ghana.
The Uruguay match is revenge.
We are coming for revenge.
As if they needed reminding, Saurez refusing to apologize for his handball in 2010 reignited the Ghanaians all over again. Uruguay needed a win and more goals for any chance of making it through. All Ghana needed was a draw to put them back in the quarterfinals. It was all down to this match. The first good chance fell to Jordan Ayew, who had a shot saved by Rocket, but he quickly went from hero to zero, illegally taking down Kudus in the box for a penalty. Instantly, there were flashbacks to their last meeting, and in a similar fashion, Ghana missed the penalty. But that penalty served as a wake-up call to Uruguay, who scored just 5 minutes later.
Suarez! He can't keep it out, it's touched in!
And to rub salt in the wound, it was Suarez's shot that deflected into the path of De Arrascaeta. But the show wasn't over. Brimming with confidence, Uruguay scored again in the 32nd minute. A brilliant goal with Saurez and De Arrascaeta combining again.
Luis Suarez,
It looked like they were going to, once again, advance past the Black Stars. But in perhaps the most inspiring moment of the group stages, South Korea scored an extra-time goal against Portugal, bringing them level on points with Uruguay, but above on goals scored. Neither rival advanced past the group stage, but Ghana will have once again felt stung by their arch-nemesis. At 36, Saurez has likely played his last World Cup, spelling an end to this 12-year feud. Still, he may never be welcomed in Ghana or even the whole of Africa.